We were talking to a cyber insurance person recently, and a very interesting dialogue broke out that there was a vulnerability that came out a couple of years ago that was determined, or somebody in the White House made the comment that it was an act of war because of the country that it came from. And those details don't matter. That's not the point. The point is the cyber insurance policies exclude a lot of times acts of war. And what's happening right now in the world? We're seeing an act of war on the other side of the planet, right? And so it made me wonder how many companies are thinking, oh, well, I have cyber insurance. That's okay because, we all know breaches are up on purpose. There's a lot of hubbub and a lot of noise in the media about breaches and, this happening and it's all over the place. I mean, it's daily. You can go out there and read them. It's constant. And so, but I heard that and I thought, wow, I never thought about that if a breach or an attack is considered an act of war, then it's excluded from your cyber insurance policy. Like, dang, that's not good, especially the day that we live in. So, what does that mean? Well, what that means is you get cyber insurance, you have cyber insurance, it's necessary for your business. Your customers will want to make sure that you have it, so you need it. But you do not hang your hat on it. Your cyber insurance is not your backup plan. Your cyber insurance is not your program. That's a bad approach. Your cyber insurance is a just in case. I'm still going to do everything I need to do to make sure that I'm where I need to be. Just like we live in Texas. I think it must be the hail capital on the planet. We get a lot of hail, sometimes pretty sizable. So there's an alert today, as a matter of fact, that there's some bad weather supposedly coming tonight. It's springtime in Texas. Gotta love it, right? Well, am I just going to go put my cars in the street and just, oh, well, I got insurance, no big deal? No, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want hail damage all over my car. I don't want the windshield busted. I don't want it flooded out on the inside. That actually happened a couple of years ago here, and there were a lot of vehicles with busted out windshields. They looked like they had been hit with baseball bats. And the car, of course, is flooded because after it hails, it typically drops 4 or 5 inches of rain, or, a fair amount of rain. And so that's exactly what happened. And so do I want my car to go through that? Sure, I have insurance, but I don't want to use the insurance. We got a new roof not that long ago because of that hail. I don't want another roof. I'm fine with my roof. I don't want to use my insurance. Well, the same approach should be for cyber insurance. It's there because it's the responsible thing to do if the unfortunate happens, but it is nothing to hang your hat on. And oh my gosh, if something happened to your business and it were declared as an act of war, which look it up, it happens. And especially in the world we're living in, it can happen. It is happening. You don't want to find that out. Like, you don't want to leave your car out in the hail and then, okay, well, at least the insurance company will take care of it. Nope, they're not taking care of that. It's not, oh, at least see this little fine print right here? It's not covered. Oh, that's terrible. So, what does this mean? This means cybersecurity is about risk. It's about knowing what your risk is, having a process to identify what those risks are. It's about putting controls into place to mitigate those risks. Some of those controls are process based, some of those rely upon people, some of those are tools, some of those are automated, they're all over the place. And a lot of it depends on your resources and your budget, what you put into place. But cybersecurity is ultimately about risk, so you got to know what your risk is. You got to know what kind of data you have. You have to understand your environment. You have to understand what's in your environment, and then build your risk posture, and then build the areas that you want to make sure you have controls and coverage in. And then do those controls. Make sure they're implemented, make sure they're operating, and then obviously if they have failures, that's why you monitor your controls. If they have failures, then get those failures resolved. Because if a control is mitigating a risk and the control is not working and nobody's paying attention and doesn't notice it, guess what? You're right back to the high risk that you started off with. You've accomplished nothing except for you have this control in place that nobody's doing anything with. And I see it all the time, all the time. And that's not the way you run your program. And so it's very important that you build your program from the top down and you understand the pieces, parts of it, and you understand your risk posture, and then you make very good decisions about what strategic decisions about what you're going to mitigate. Because I read an article just recently that they said, oh, and our goal was to eliminate our risk. Okay, not possible. Hello. There's no such thing as eliminating risk. It's reducing risk. That's the appropriate term. And it's reducing risk in certain areas. If I have a salesperson that all they have access to is their email and they don't have any other access, my risk with that salesperson is lower. So my controls to mitigate that risk are going to look lower. If I have a customer service rep that talks to people about their health situation or their finance, my risk is automatically higher. Or takes credit card information, my risk is automatically higher. So my controls are going to look different for that. If I have a server that has that's internet facing, the risk posture of that server is going to be different than one that's sitting behind the firewall inside my environment. If I have a server that has PHI or PII or other confidential data on it, the risk of that server is automatically different than another server that maybe just has I don't know, marketing files on it, for example. Both important, but the technical controls are going to look totally different. And so cyber insurance doesn't do any of that for you. None of that. You build your program, you design it, you make the strategic decisions based on your risk and based on your resources and your budget, and you run your program and you monitor your program, and when you have failures, you mitigate those failures. And if somebody's trying to breach into you, you're the one looking for that, and you have controls in place to mitigate against that and ideally shut them down even in the act. That's the mindset. Cyber insurance, I don't even think about that. Sure, that's out there if you need it, but there's no reliance upon it, because just like in this example, all it takes is, oh, that's an act of war or some other fine print that's in your policy. And they're not there for you, and I mean this no disrespect to insurance, cyber insurance. Yeah, all insurance is this way, right? They all have their terms, they all have their fine print, and if you don't understand that, you'll get yourself in a bind. And the point is to be a responsible business owner and leader, run your programs, understand your cyber posture, make sure you're resilient on your own to whatever risks and whatever is going to come your way, and you stay on top of that stuff, because the bad guy is constantly changing. He is constantly maneuvering and constantly changing the approach and the target and these different ideas. And so we have to do the same thing. Our cyber programs have to be fluid and they have to be moving, and we have to be aware of what's going on in the world and constantly making adjustments. And then as our budgets may grow, well, what new automation can I take advantage of, or what's new in the marketplace that I can maybe work to mitigate some additional risk. And it's this constant living thing that we're navigating through. That is how we run cybersecurity. It's not really hanging our hat on the insurance, because an act of war, for example, can invalidate that thing. And I literally just found this out, and I was shocked, because I can see in this world it would be so easy for some of these breaches to potentially be declared as that. And so the reminder is, run your cyber program as a responsible steward of your business. Sure, cyber insurance is out there. Hope you never need it, but it's certainly not affecting or downgrading the way that I'm building and running my program. If you think this video will help someone, please share it. I would greatly appreciate that. If you have feedback or you want to have a dialogue about it, please put those in the comments. Very much would enjoy chatting with you and hearing your experiences and your thoughts.